back live in Melbourne, Australia. And today's daf is daf Lamed. And in the middle of Perek Zabayre, we are in the middle of the Gemara. We're up to about 12 lines from the top of the page. Tanu Rabbanim. Tanu Rabbanim. We learned. If somebody comes over to these children and says, I saw your father, I saw your father hide money, B'Sheda Teva Migul, some kind of a box, different kind of boxes. The Omar, and he told me, don't think this money is mine. This money belongs to somebody else. This money is Maisa Sheni. Is bit bias. If I saw him putting it in his own house, then lo yamaklum. No, even if we find the money stashed away there, we don't have to believe him for a minute that the money belongs to somebody else or that the money is Maisa Sheni money. Although the Shani Master, we learned before that sometimes a person has a habit. Adam Asu Shaloila has be as Banov. He doesn't want people to think that he has a lot of money, so he said, it belongs to somebody else because I in Hora. In this case over here, it would have been easy for him not to hide the money in front of your eyes. If he was worried about people thinking he's rich, wait till the guy leaves. The fact that he did it in front of him means that he trusted him, and it wasn't a question of lahasbiyah. And you would think maybe he's telling the truth. But we don't believe this person here. Well, but if he said, I saw him buried in the field, then he's obviously trying to hide something. Then we discover that the money taka is there. We believe him. Why? Kalala should have the rules as follows. Go should be the this guy has a miga. If he was wanted, he could have seized the money. For example, in the field, he could have taken it. And believe him, miga biyadik. Believe whatever he says. If it's in the house, he couldn't just take it. Therefore, we don't believe him. The obvious question is, an 8 echad is neman be'isurin. He says that the money is ma'isa sheni money. How can you not believe him? So the Rishonim saying there's a long shashmites on this. The idea is when you have ma'isa sheni is isur, but it also involves dinim moments because you're taking money away from a person and you're giving it to the Beis Hamikdash. So it is moments. And moments, you need 2 witnesses. A single witness is not good enough. Yeah, exactly. So because Maisa Sheni is not just Easter, it's also Mammon, you need 2 Adim. That's what one is not believe. Now I'm going to give case number 2. Hare Shiro is at the end, where that's lamed 2 lines in the wide lines. Hare Shiro is at the end, they themselves saw, nobody had to tell them, they saw it. But Amr Shal Pliny and the father tells them, that person's Maisa Sheni Hain, it's Maisa Sheni money. Question is, do we believe or not? Regarding his own children, we don't say a father has be as bonus. So the question: do we believe it's Maisa Sheni money or not? If it's not like he's giving him instructions before he dies, pass it on to that person or give it to the hegdish. If it looks like he's trying to be cunning or tricky, he's trying to avoid certain things, and he's trying to avoid. He doesn't want them to think he has so much money because then people are going to charge him excess money for other things. Case number 3. It's the wording that he uses, or maybe the tone was well. The Gemara doesn't spell it out, so it's the context of what is being said. Okay, we're talking about honest people because otherwise the kids didn't say anything. They could have just kept the money. No one knows other than the kids. So they're honest. They're going to Rav and asking a shayla. And then the Gemara says, "Injuring not don't people think he's rich. You're going to start charging him more money for things than others." The kids were wondering about where was the money. They know the money. The father had money. Where did he stash it? And that his father left him. And the Baal HaChalem came. Rashi says in Baruch a few places a malach that gives chalemus. The Zohar says it's Malach Gabriel actually. And he said, "Kach the kach hein b'mokem plini." There's so much, and he gives us some, and he tells where it is. And you should know, hey, Maisa Sheni. It's not for your use. It's Maisa Sheni money. It's only used in Shalim. This actually happened. We went to the Rav. What do we do here? And it turned out to be that everything in the dream was correct. The amount was there. The place was right. And what does it mean? The Chalaim is you don't take it literally, but you found that the money was exactly what it said it is, and the sum is right. Because we learned in Rashi in the Chumash, the Gemara says that every Cholam has Vorim B'Tev. So we're going to say that the parts that you found is the part that is accurate. The part that's Ma'aseh Sheni is Vorim B'Tev. The Tashbatz, in his Chuvas, he talks about that depends. What happened? He had a dream, and the dream was that that the meat in your fridge is treif. Is that the same thing? How does it work? He wants to make a chil in dini mamres and Isra hetzet. Dini mamres, he says, Safek mamres lekuli leave a chazaka. Or others say, based on this tashbatz, ein hochim b'mamen achar roib. Even if there are grounds to say that probably it's right, the money, the accurate sum, and everything else. And Ma'aseh Sheni, we just explained before from the Rishoni that Ma'aseh Sheni is also considered dini mamres because you're taking money out of one's ownership and you're putting it in something else. In Kedusha. And but Isur might be different because Safek Isur al-Chumrah. Then there's a whole diyu, and what happens if it's not a Baal Chalaim, but your own father came to you in a dream and tells you something? Do you have to listen? I think it's a Me'idi, if I remember correctly, that comes out and says you don't have to listen at all. Even though it's your own, sorry, say the Chassidim. He said you don't have to listen at all to what do you call to the dream. Anyway. In 8 Sefer, there's a whole arichas on all the different shittas. We had Nedarim about dreams. You listen. Remember, we had Nedarim a few days. If you were in a dream, they put you in chedim. You need 10 people to take you out of that chedim. Okay, back to the Gemara. Shnaim Amin Zakai. Now remember, in the Mishnah it said that you're not allowed to go afterwards and tell them, "I'm the one who found you innocent, but what should I do? The majority I overrule me." Because that's like say you're not allowed to pass on disseminate lashon hara. Says the Gemara, Zakai. So we follow the majority. The question is, what do you write on that star? Now remember, Hapi Halacha, a bezin does not have to give you a psak din in writing at all. At all. It's only if there's a request. Today the main became you do, but it's only if there's a request from the nitva or if there's a request from one of the people involved. I want on writing a psak din and so on. We know what the basis of psak din is. But you don't have to. So let's say if you did write one. What exactly do you write when it's 2 against 1? You're innocent or guilty, whatever the case may be. No, don't mention a word about that there was a disagreement. The Shlaka says, no, you got to be truthful. Plaini mazakin, that these two found you innocent, and that's it. Now, this flies in the face of the Mishnah, which clearly said you're not allowed to say, because Lashon Hara. So there are a number of differences given, but most of them say that there is talking about where I come over to you, I'm your zablot. So I come over to you and say, you know what? I really tried hard to make it innocent, but I was overruled. But here we're talking about the standard format of a psak din. That's lashon hara. This is not lashon hara because this is the truth. This is the psak. The psak is we're 2 against 1 and we follow the majority. So the Mishnah is different. That's how many of the Shem want to learn. Rabbi Lazar says the third opinion. This is what you're right. Medivreyin is not complaining. From the words, from the discussions and the bezin, we came to this is the conclusion that we came to. So you're not saying they all agreed, but you're not saying what happened. It's the outcome. That's all you're saying. So you cover all bases. Gemara will say. So what's interesting? What happens if bezin the rare case bezin makes a mistake and we learn that sometimes bezin actually has to reimburse them if they did it by yadayim. It's irreversible. So what happens then? The dayanim have to pay. What about the guy who said let's say he said he's innocent? The 2 guys said guilty, one guy said innocent. The guy said innocent, also has to pay. Does he, the one who said that he's innocent, has to join them and pay? That the Bezin said innocent. Too bad. You became now. We transformed your psak as if you said also you whatever it is. Let's say case innocent where it's wrong and they have to reimburse the other guy. Mishalem. Then you have to pay as well. Well, the man plenty mezaka plenty mechayiv and mishalem. If you want the other one who says no, we itemize who it is. He doesn't have to pay. Well, the man mezaka mishalem. Why should he have to pay? If you were to listen to me, you also wouldn't have to pay. I was right. Why should I have to pay because you outnumbered me? Okay, you're right. He never has to pay. But the other 2, do they have to cover his third? Yes, because he said the Bezdin, Mishalmi. Plenty. They said us and us. You're saying only 2 of us are responsible out of the 3, so only 2 have thirds to be paid. Let me show them to pay. Let him tell them, let him tell them if you would not have been, let's turn around to him. and say to him, why in the world should we have to pay your share if you say Zakai? If you wouldn't have been with us, we wouldn't have been a kosher bezin. Nothing would have happened if you don't follow Shmuel that says that two people paskins the bezin chassid. The difference is nothing to do with outcome in monetary, but there's a machlei. The chilik is lashon hara. Rabbi Yecha says Zakai because like say Roch shouldn't lashon hara. The Shlok says Pliny Mizaki Pliny Chayim should a merzik chicken. Writing anything else looks like a lie. So what's pshat? Is it pshat? Is it's lashon hara, but being honest trumps lashon hara, which is an important thing. Or the way Tosfos learns, there's no lashon hara in this case. Because the halacha says if 2 against 1, if you have to write what the halacha says, it's not a case of lashon hara at all. How do we view this? Okay, Rabbi Loza, Eastlay the man, he holds both. He holds you have to be truthful. He holds you should know lashon hara. Hilchot kosri hachi. This is what you're right. Medivreim is daka plani. From them, this is the outcome. Gomru Sadavar, after they completed everything, they brought them back in. Who did they bring back in? Who did they send out that they have to bring back in? Laman, who are we talking about? Ila, the Baldinim, we're talking about the litigants. Some kind they were there the whole time. Now, if the litigants were there the whole time, so they know already which bezin, which dayanim were against them and which were for them. What's the whole thing in the Mishnah that you don't spell out who said what? So there's 2 ways of understanding. One is like goes to Shayim. I told you that it's not lashon hara when you write on the thing that 2 were found for you and 1 against you. It's not lashon hara at all. Lashon hara is when he comes over to you and he says, "Look, I really tried, and that was they trumped me. I was overridden." And so the Baal Dinim are there the whole time. The Eidim go out. Now, why, if the Eidim went out, why would you bring the Eidim back in again? So we're going to soon see, if we had already before, a machlekes in Babasa, if the Eidim have to testify together or they can testify separately. Now remember, the Mishnah says we call each Eid separately so we can interrogate them, see, cross-examine them. And after the cross-examination, since each one is separate, if you hold that the Eidim have to testify together, you have to bring them both back in and they have to testify again. So that's what it would seem, that if you follow that opinion, the view that says testify again, that's why they're coming back in. Is command. Doesn't follow Amnasan. No, they don't have to testify together. Why would you bring the Eidim back in? The time the Tanakam hold about there's 2 machlekes in this brayse. Machlekes number 1. Tanakam says that the Eidim have to see the same event in unison. And Rabbi Shimon Karcha says even if the Eidim did not see in unison but one after another, we can combine the 2 Eidim as they want to explain soon on the base. The Ein Eidusim is Kayemet. Machlekes number 2. The Ein Eidusim is Kayemet Bezin Ach Yidish Negech. They both have to testify simultaneously. You can hear 1 8 today. And the other guy comes tomorrow, we'll hear him tomorrow. So why does Mishnah say you have to bring both Eidim back in together to testify again? Obviously, that's not the Tanakama. So you want to know, maybe we're talking about the Baladin. We have to bring, Vitaka did send them out, and we're bringing them back in. And this follows the Yud on the Chemya. And the Chemya holds, we'll send them out to the Baladin and then bring them back in again. But others, by the way, hold if the Baladin were there, they would put them in a corner so they shouldn't actually hear the discussions enter the Dayanim themselves. This is the meaning of those people who are very modest in Shalayim. And they would bring in the litigants. Listen what they say. Bring in the witnesses. Hear what they have to say. Then would send them out for they would debate them. So in other words, we did send out the Baladin and Machlis means he brought them back in. Another but I said Gomrus Adava Machlis Aid, and only ones you brought back in are the Eidim because the Baladin were there the whole time. Obviously, if he brought back in the Eidim, why? Ahid like a nothing. Our Mishnah is talking about bringing back in the Baladin because the Eidim don't have to come back in and testify again because the Muslim says they can hear 1 8 separately and another 8 separately. So you heard each 8, you cross-examine each one separately, it's good enough. This brayse that says you have to reinvite the Eidim is because you have to hear them testify again. That follows the view of the Tanakama that both Eidim have to testify at the same time. Gufa, now let's analyze this brayse. The Eidus is not combined. The Eidim not combined. They both saw together. They have to see together. The Gemara later in Nome Beis will explain what exactly that they say that it's but we'll see. But my committee, what's the argument? E-boys aim akra, e-boys aim a svara. We have it many times. So if you want, I can say it's a pasuk. If you want, I can say it's a svara. Now, even though it sounds like this, both the outcome is the same. The question is, what's the basis? It says right in the Achareinim, based on the Shalah, that there must be an Achareinim halacha if it's based on a svara or if it's based on a kra. Otherwise, your mother wouldn't tell you boys aim a svara, boys aim a kra. What do you need it for? E-boys aim a svara. What's the svara? The Tadakama says, I'm one of the Kamasid High, the Kamasid High. If we're not talking about, we did not see the same. You saw a loan Monday morning, $100, and I saw a loan, another loan Monday afternoon, $100. We're not talking about the same loan. How can you combine the two? When one goes high, look at Kamasid High. We're not talking about the same thing. The Idach and Abshuma Kocha. I'm on about Alma. The fact that you're both saying you owe $100. Doesn't matter whether it's the same 100. The fact that between the two was the common denominator, you owe $100. We have two agents that you owe $100. That's the svara. E-boys ema kra. If you want, we can say a pasuk. You see, it says who aid oyra oyada. It says in a pasuk.
Pasuk is like your primary source. Svara is only if you try to find a pasuk. I'll bring on what you call it.
We have more conditions that say that even though we have a svara, the Torah decides to go to and write a pasuk as well. We started with the axiom that is a svara. No, a pasuk. Even though we have a kal chaymer, torach lekosel lakra. Chayda svara he. More answer is torach lekosel lakra. Nevertheless, so you have a svara first, and then you have a crop. But the orders, I don't know why this specific difference in order. But it says that if you know Adis and you refuse to give you Adis, and the pasuk says, "Who aid? You saw it. Or you were an aid. Or you saw." Now we yada, we know that every time it says aid, we hang more seitzer. Even though it's lashon yachid, it means two agents. So why Taka does the Torah refer to them as aid, as one group? So he wants one that follows. The Tanya Mashna Yokim aid, it says in the puzzle Yokim aid echad or you need apishnai aid. So why does it spell out aid echad? Aid is very singular. So we learn Gemara say to Amatam echad zebana of kolmok number aid. Whatever the Torah says the word aid, hadekashai means two. Ajvala kasev echad. The Torah says clearly one. The Afghan one says why Taka use it? Why? Why does the Torah use lashon yachid aid when the Torah means two? Say aidim. The main to teach you. Aid have to be like one group. They have to see the same event. It's not good enough that you saw $100, so another $100, and it has the same event. The Hidach, another one holds who aid another one says who aid, that he's an aid. I don't care if you saw the same event, as long as you're an aid and you have the same idea, the same outcome that you owe $100, that is good enough. That is good enough. The nafkamina between svara and kra here would be very simple. We're going to learn later. What happens? He was made before one aid. I owe the guy $100 from a Monday loan, and then he was made to another aid on Tuesday. I owe him $100 from a Monday loan. So talk about the same $100, but you guys didn't hear it at the same time. So if it's a svara, I'm on the kamasad high here. The svara would say everyone agrees that it would be a good aid. Because we're talking about the same $100. Just you didn't hear it at the same time. But if it's a pasuk, who aid that you have to be one group. The fact that you're not one group. So here's an Afghan halacha if you learn Kra or you learn Svar. Anyhow, like the mother said, the next part of the Braisa is the Ainid, there's some scare and business, they have to testify together. And another says, who cares? Show me the Vajaz the Hayim. Show me the Vajaz. Mike, what's my like is here? E-boys aim a Svara, E-boys aim a Kra. There's Svara in a Pasik. E-boys have a Svara. I can tell you, Svara, Mar Sabat Aid Echad. An aid. If an aid came along and said, you owe $100, what's it? You have to swear, you don't. An aid cannot be machayv moment. Ki asi l'shvuasi, l'mayna la'asi. So if each aid comes separately, then how do you combine the two and suddenly transform them to aidos to extract money? Each aid individually, all they do is a shvur. The idach, another one says, "Atu ki asi b'hadi adodi b'chad public comments." Even though they're standing in front of us in court, are they talking in one mouth? What's this? What's this word here? What's he saying? The machlek is the Rosh main tam the base long Rosh in Bab Mitzvah. And the kids of the machlek is as follows. The way that Achrein understand the machlek is the but Eid Messiah is a patzas mashur. You know what Eid is Machayiv mashur. What happens if an Eid that I don't owe you the money? Does that exempt me from swearing it out? The kids the base of that argument is how do we understand an Eid Echad? There's two ways of understanding. One is an Eid Echad does not have the capacity to Machayiv your money at all. All you can do is Machayiv your shur. If you don't swear, then you brought the chiv of mammon on yourself. The din is if you don't swear, then you have to pay. You brought the chuyev shuv and yochel shalom mishalom. You brought it on yourself. All that is no. An aid echad has the power to be mechayiv mammon just like two aidim, no difference. The chilik is only that by an aid echad, the Torah gave you two options of how to pay back: money or with a shur. You don't swear, then you're paying the money because the aid made you pay the money. And that's what the machlekes here is. If you hold an eid echad sachako makes you sure, then how do you make two single eidim turn them into one? The other opinion says that says no, an eid echad v'chayim mam as well. So therefore, it's very easy to combine two. Okay, and then after me between the two, what about the case where there's no money involved? Let's say by karka, you don't swear by karka, and one aid comes about the karka today, another aid comes about the karka tomorrow. What happens then? If the whole vort is by a svara, because each one is accomplished something, but you finish your ages as soon as you said your ages because of shua. There's nothing left over to hang tomorrow to combine. But where there's no shua and you came in and you said, this guy owns, I have an aid, I saw this guy living 3 years on the property, an aid echad. And what did you achieve the ages in this moment? Nothing. It's as if your ages never happened. And then tomorrow, when the second guy comes in and says, I saw 3 years, 3 years, so he came in separately. Then you have two now. Suddenly, what happened, what he said yesterday, has meaning. So it's as if it's together. So even the svara, then everybody will be annoyed. But if it's a krah, the fact is that you're not saying together. The pasuk continues, the same pasuk says, and you saw. And then says Yagid to equate the two, Ria and Haggadah. Everyone holds like the abundant that you have to see them together. The question is whether you need the saying it as well. You equate the two. You equate the two. You don't equate two. We had before the Gemara about they're trying to give smicha to different people, and Loy Mistayeh Milsa didn't work out because you need 30 people, didn't have it. So here by the case of Shimon ben Yochum have a mishtakelet, Rabbi Chanina lemische. Shimon ben Yochum wanted very much to give smicha to Rabbi Yossi ben Chanina. Rabbi Yechon before to give smicha to Rabbi Chanina, it didn't work out. Here, Rabbi Yossi ben Chanina. But look, again, it didn't work out. Didn't have 3 people, whatever it was. One day, have a Yossi come Rabbi Yechon. They're all sitting before Rabbi Yechon. Amalu Rabbi Yechon said, "Mika the Yod halacha of Shimon ben Karcha or like? Does anybody here know what the halacha is Rabbi Shimon ben Karcha or not? That what? That you don't have to see together." Amalei Rabbi Shimon ben Yochum. Amalei Rabbi Shimon ben Yochum. Shimon ben Yochum said to Rabbi Yechon, "Dain, his person here, Yoda, he knows. Rabbi Yechon knows." Amalei Lemus Nu. Tell me Ezu or easy. Tell me what the story is. Amalei before he does, Shimon Yochum said to Rabbi Yechon, before he'll tell you anything, least mechay ma'badeisha. Give him smicha. Samchay gave him smicha. Look at that. Didn't test him. Sounds familiar. Didn't test him. Nothing. He gave me smicha. Gave him smicha. Now, why didn't Shimon Yochum give him smicha already? He didn't want to try so hard. And obviously, he had 30 people there. You already had Shimon Yochum. You had Rabbi Yechon and all the Talmidim. It's because Memokim Rav, since Rabbi Yechon was his Rebbe, he couldn't give smicha. The Rebbe has to give smicha. So he asked Rabbi Yechon to give smicha. Amalei Rabbi Yechon turned around to him, no, very eager to know. B'ni, Amalei, tell me, Kate Shema, what did you hear? The halacha of Shimon Karcha that you don't have to see together or not? Amalei Kach Shemaita, I heard. Shamoyde Rabbi Shua ben Karcha Rab Nosson who said you don't have to say it together. Also, Rabbi Shua ben Karcha said since you don't have to see it together, he holds you don't have to say it together either. That's all he said. Amalei Zeh Tzachti. Rabbi Yechon said, you tricked me. I asked you, what is the halacha, and you tricked me. Hashta ma'i keriya. I need you to tell me that. Madach, the siding itself. You told me bahade hadadi. But you can hear about this together. You don't need to see together. See to the events. Haggadah is just repeating what you saw. And by real ages, when does the ages begin? From the moment you saw. If you don't have to see it together, of course you don't have to say it together. So what did you tell me now? And then he said, you know what? Once I gave you smicha, you don't retract. You could retract smicha, but if it's a great, turn out to be that the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But if he's a great man, we don't retract the smicha. So interesting, Rab Shimon Yochum, did he know that? And he tricked Rabbi Yechon into giving him smicha? Or he actually thought that Rabbi Yosef Hanani knew if the halach is like him and he got it wrong. Anyway, Allah is like a Shimon Karcha that you don't have to see together. Baby Kakoy is whether we're talking about Karka, Baby Metalklin, whether we're talking about Metalklin. Notice by Karka, he says, one day he says, this property is yours. And another guy says, this property is yours. Over here by Karka, we're talking about the same property. It's the same property we're talking about. Because if it's two different properties, what is it? It's not 2 We're talking about the same property. But he was made to each one separately. By money, we're talking about different loans. As the one understands right now. You're talking about one loan happening on Monday, and you're talking about a loan happening on Tuesday. So he said, nevertheless, the halacha shemakarcha bein bekaka is bein metal in both cases because the pearl you owe him $100. Ula says halacha shemakarcha only by property. We're talking about the same property. I will leave metal. We're talking about different monies. You tell me by karka, it seems that they're arguing. When it comes to karka, since we're talking about the same property, even the chachamim hold that you have to see the same event concurrently, but by karka, we're talking about the same karka. The chachamim made it that he was made it to you on Monday, he was made it to the other guy on Tuesday, but the same property is good enough. And furthermore, in this price of Bekana, remember, Kana was the equal to Shmuel over there, and they were considered the Bezin in Goyle. Moedim Chachamim Rabbi Shur ben Karcha. The Chacham made Rabbi Shur ben Karcha in three things. One of them is Be'edus B'choir. What do you mean Be'edus B'choir? So Rashi learned Be'edus B'choir means we don't trust a kohen who tells us that there's a mum in his animal B'choir because they're the ones who benefit from it. Exactly, we don't trust him. So bring Eidim. If he brings an aid, one aid for one mum that happened Be'ela from itself, it nothing to do with the kohen, and then he brings an aid on another mum. But this mum happened itself. The fact that you have two edim that it happened by itself, even though we're not talking about the same mum, that's good enough. Taisa says no such thing. Taisa is talking about a b'chayr adam. We're talking about a b'chayr of a person, nothing to do with kainim. As Taisa says from other gemaras, that it's not correct. What we're talking about is that one guy heard from a father saying, "This son is my b'chayr," on a Monday, and on a Tuesday he told someone else that this son is my b'chayr, and therefore everyone agrees we're talking about the same b'chayr. You can combine the two. Ube'edus karka, so he's clear me again. We see when it comes to karka, everyone agrees we're talking about the same property. Ube'edus chazaka, and by chazaka as well, we're talking about you said the first 3 years of shemitah, and another 8 came along and said the second 3 years of shemitah. We're talking about the same property. We combine the two. V'chein shebeben of a bas, puberty of ben of bas, we can combine the two. See in a minute. But the Gemara says that's a kasha. Anula gavra koromis. Okay, so you have a rabba, you have a rabidi, but all the whole doesn't agree with them. He holds that the Chacham are arguing by karka as well. They have to see together. They have to hear from the guy together. Because it says, if you learn from not from the Svara, but from a pasuk, the pasuk who ate has to be together. If you learn from a Svara, then it makes sense that they're all meider. As I told you before, that's enough community. If you learn from a Svara, you learn from a pasuk. You see right here, the Gemara spells out. Okay, so the Gemara, what's the story behind Shabbat Merabas? What happened there? The Echad being very euphemistic. You need two hairs, two sides. So they say one, two follicles. They say one is on the back and one is Bekrisa on the stomach. Or Rashi says one is Kisha the ground, top of your legs, and one is Bekrisa. But bottom line is we saw two different hairs. Machlekes, the Shainim, it could be in two different ends or it has to be close together. But it's on two different hairs. So that's what happened. One aid says I saw here over here. One aid says over here there. Then high chatzi dover the chatzi aid is more than just having one aid at a time. Each one only one hair does not make you reach puberty. So so what happened over there? I saw you lend $100 alone. Okay, that mechayiv you owe $100 whether they're aiding there or not. You owe them $100. So I'm giving a full aidus, a full dover, but only one aid. Here, what's one hair? If two aiding came along and said we saw one hair, what is it? Nothing. Each one says a full two hairs, but different parts. I saw here, I saw this part. So we combine the two. Everyone agrees you combine the two. The Rif in Baba Basra and traces there, they all ask a question. So how come when one aid says 3 years chazaka, first 3 years of Shemitah, I saw him squat in the land and nobody said anything, and another aid says year 4, 5, 6. And we combine the two, but we're not talking about the same thing. What's 1 8 for 3 years? Nothing. Why is that not chatzi dover? Or we learned you have 3 Eidim. One guy saw the first year, one guy saw the second year, one guy saw the third year. They combine, you have 2 Eidim and then an Eid Achad. Another guy comes along. The single Eid only saw 1 year, so chatzi dover. It's not just 1 Eid, it's a chatzi dover. Each one only saw 1 year. What's the value of 1 year? Nothing. What's a chilik? So the Ri wants to say that you saw as much, I think it's the Ri or the Rif, one of those two opinions, says that you saw as much as you were able to see at the time. Since you cannot see in year number 1, year number 2, so therefore you said a full Adis. Masha'en Kain, in the case of the hairs, that's right, this is the Ri in Taisus. In the case of the hair, you could have seen everything if it was there, but you only saw part of it. That's a Chatzi Dover. The Rif answers, he has another show together. He says, when you see 1 year, what you saw, nothing. When you see 1 year, a guy living in a property for 1 year, then you're doing something. You know what you're doing? You're not only not helping him, you're hurting him. He has to pay now the paydas that he did the whole year. So you said an edus. There is a chalois of edus here. That's not a chatzidover. When do we say chatzidover? When your edus achieved nothing. You saw a side acha, so nothing happens. Anyway, whether by metalvid, that's what I say. No, they say that they say only karka and metaltin. Why? Because karka talking about the same property, metaltin talking about two different loans. Rav Tamei and Rav is consistent with his view. If let's say he was 1 age says he was made to me on Sunday about a loan, another age says he was made to me Monday about a loan, could be talking about the same loan. Or he lent him on Sunday and 1 age says I saw it. Another guy says he was made to me that he borrowed money on Sunday. Again, we're talking about the same $100. Then mitzarfi. But says Rav, I hold that even according to Karchev, there's definitely two different loans. Sunday was one loan and Monday was another loan, and each age comes and talks about a different loan. Or halva achridah. On Sunday was made I owe him $100, obviously from the past, and then Monday was a new loan. We're not talking about the same money. The loan mistarif, even because you're is not mistarif. Not like we learned about it till now that even two separate $100 loans is mistarif because the outcome is the same. I don't say the difference. What's the difference? Two halvos. We say the money the kochazi high, the kochazi high. You tell me why there's no machlek is there because everyone agrees that it's no good because we're talking about two different loans. So one admission after another, Nami could very be it's two different loans. I'm money the komoida come high, like komoida go high. We're talking about the same loan. The Amalei, this he says. Someone answers the Amalei Lahai Basra. He tells the second guy, you should know. But because neither of them know about the other guy's loan or anything else. How do you combine them? So he tells the second guy, I want you to know that I was already made yesterday about this loan. According to that brings it together. I want you to know this $100 I made it to you. I was already made it yesterday to somebody else. So therefore, according to Rav, why it's different is because it's talking about the same $100. I tied them together. So he asked him, okay, but the first guy didn't know that. So the second guy is tied to the first. But how is the first guy tied to the second? When you made it to the first guy about $100, you didn't know about the second guy. So how come Rav says two different loans, you can't miss that? But if the how? Because the first guy, when he gave his testimony, he had no idea there was a second Haidah. So it's like two different loans. The first guy didn't know. So Gemara says the harder azul over the kamah. Then he goes back and he ties all the knots. He goes back to the first guy. Hi monado. You come out. You know the kind of play. I want you to know that I told somebody else about this very loan that I told you about yesterday. On Malay. So he said, so Dachis said to Rav Yeshua, Tanur daitoch shenachta daiti. Thank you. You made me feel good. On Malay, so Rav Yeshua said to him, Meinuchus, why are you happy? The Rabba, or he came but Avshesa, shot of an aga, throw a hatchet in it, threw a spanner in the works. Lav hainu hoidor achalava. In the case of, if we're talking about a case where the second guy was told about the first guy told about the second guy, then the case of hoidor achalava, what do you call it? In the case of hoidor achalava, and there was hoidor, it's exactly the same thing. He had to tell the second guy, by the way, to tie them together. I gave a loan yesterday, it's the same thing. And then you had to go back to the first guy and tell him, by the way, I'm going to be made tomorrow. So what's the chiluk in hoidor, achroidor, hoidor, achalvor? It's the same thing, mamish. He told both of them about the other guy. So what's the Rav saying? What do you need both cases for? So he said back to here, Nach Yitzchok, Lav hainu hoidor, achalvor. Hainu d'shmila leichos. I heard about you guys. They're a mita dikla. You cut down palm trees, and v'zakfidu, and straight away you replant them again. You gave me a good answer, and then right away you demolish your answer. Anyways, Nadoi says, Bain Hoido Achroido. Nadoi says, whether it's a after Hoido, Bain Hoido Achroido, Bain Abachroido, Bain Abachroido, Mr. Knows what? Even it's definitely two different loans. I'm modern to Kamasar High, look Kamasar High doesn't matter. Look at the outcome. Command Rabbi Shimon Karcha. Like Rabbi Shimon Karcha, we paskin, and most of the hold this is halacha. We follow, we want that even not talking about the same loan, it doesn't matter. The Rishonim have a hard time understanding what's going on here.
So,
what do you mean?
because if it's two different loans, how's it going to potentially?
Oh, it's no different than Milbal Peh. It's no different than Milbal Peh that you still have the money unless the guy lies. But what's going on? What did the Tevei himself say? Is a Teveya demanding? The Teveya saying you owe me $100. One day comes and says, I saw him lend $100 on Sunday. The other guy says, I saw him lend $100 on Monday. But the Teveya himself is contradicting one of the agents. So what's the story here? But the Mugyesik is a simple answer. He says no. He's not. He talked there were two loans. We're talking about there were two loans, and therefore one guy is talking about one loan, and one guy is talking about the other loan. There's no hakashi contradiction at all whatsoever. But they're not talking about the same loan. And the chiddush is the common denominator is you owe $100, and if you owe $100. So they talk about. There's a long rival. They talk about. If one eight says you owe, I saw you lend $100. Another $200. Another eight says I saw him lend $300. Another eight said I saw him lend $400. Another eight said I saw him lend $500. And then they work out. So from the first group of eidim, the two according to Koch, you got to give $200. So that's what they both are saying. Second group of eidim, 400, 500, you got to give $400. Now you have left over 100 from the 500 that is not accounted for, and 100 from the 300. You put those two together, and you got to give another $100 where they two agree. So you owe a total of $600. Anyway, this is the Gemara says here, Omar Rabba, sorry, Omar Rabba, Eidus Hamachesh. We know when it comes to we interrogate, we do bdikas and chakidus. So we do chakidus, which is no definitive time and place, so that you can be found liars, and then we have bdikas, the colors and everything else. And by dinamam is because we want to help out the auto they love. We want to help out. They shouldn't make it too difficult for lender. We took away the chakidus. But what happened to Pearl is a contradiction. We ask general questions, and the players contradict themselves in the bdikas. How do we deal with it? So you want eidus hamachet is a bdikas. If they are machet each other, bdikas shaded is still kosher. You don't need to do bdikas. But dinimam by dinimam. No, by dinimam it wouldn't be kosher. By dinimam it is. Omar Rabba mistabrim milsa. There's different kinds of details. The Rabbi Yehuda be'echadayim. For example, one guy says, I think it was an aniki shchayla, a black wallet, and be'echadayim be'aniki levana, a white one. It's not really relevant to the actual eidus. And we learned in Gemara just yesterday that things which are not very important, trivial, people generally forget, even the next morning. Okay, they weren't really mindful. The whole loan is shacha love means old money or new money. That's the edus that you lent the money. How can you not notice if it's new money or old money? Aim is doctor. That's mamash a problem. You tell me, and we're drawing a contrast, like a black wallet and a white wallet. By dinamam doesn't matter, as it didn't fash, it does matter. But the one guy says it was a knife, and a dagger. That contradict each other. That's essential. At the time, this guy, the perpetrator, was wearing, or the victim was wearing this color clothes, that color clothes. How did you nothing? You just told me that by dinamam you made a special thing. We say no, that the colors of the wallet are not that important. As it didn't fash, it is. Which is clearly by as well. They don't contradict each other. So the Gemara Gavra Karamit. You're asking me a question from one person to another person. It's not a question at all. He holds that by din of fashions, black clothes or white clothes is important, and if they contradict each other, they cancel each other out. I'll continue tomorrow on this very subject. Okay, that's nice to be back.